It is a pleasure, an honor to welcome to his own bima, Rabbi Neil Cooper, to offer us words of Torah and wisdom this Shabbos morning. We are delighted to have you with us, every Shabbos, but especially on the Shabbats when you speak and teach us.
Thank you, Rabbi, for giving me the opportunity to speak, which I really appreciate it, that it's not something I can take for granted. Can you hear that? Is that better?
Yep.
I used to be very good at this. I don't know. It just seems to. So, all right. I want to begin with a question for you. What do the following movies have in common? Okay, here's the question, right? Fantastic Voyage, 2001 Space Odyssey, 1968 Stanley Kubrick, great movie. Alien, 1979, also a great movie. And Home Alone, 1990. What do they have in common? What?
Bill.
Okay, Abra, what?
Oh, I think.
I don't think, not louder. No, not Abram. Okay. So what do these have? I learned a word. You know, ever hear the word novelization? These are movies which preceded the book by the same name. The book is based on the movie, not the other way around. Now, why do I mention that to you today? Because one of the greatest movies that we all know about, and certainly appropriate for this Shabbos, is the Ten Commandments produced by Cecil B. DeMille. You know, it was a great, I thought, a really great movie. Moshe Rabbeinu played the role of Charlton Heston. It's a great movie. And I've said sometimes jokingly to people, the book is better, but this is it's very good, and I mean that sincerely, because you can't. What happened here is if I ask most people, and I ask you, about the crossing of the sea, you can picture the crossing of the sea, right? How do you picture it? The way that Cecil B. DeMille, right? And if you go to Universal Studios, you can ride a tram, takes you through. You're at the edge of the sea, and they set it up, and the wall comes up, miminam umismolam, just like it says in the Torah. The water splits, and you take a tram right through. Okay, that didn't happen. The tram didn't. The problem with that is that it really does not capture either the miraculous nature or the complexity of what we call Geula, of the redemption from Egypt. And the words in the Torah, it mentions, Miminam umismolam, there were walls of water. But each time that's mentioned, there's something else mentioned. V'hayam bakata lifnei v'yavru v'toch hayam bayabasha. V'yavru ha'am b'toch hayabasha. Right? They crossed the sea on dry land, meaning. And this was the great miracle of the Geula. Not the walls of water that divided up, which everybody, you talk to people, there were winds and this and blow. They walked on water which was dry land. This is very hard to show in a video, so in a visual sort of way. It defies logic. How is it possible that you can walk on dry land and water simultaneously. Betoch hayam bayabasha. It doesn't work. It doesn't make sense, at least not logically. And yet the key to Geula, the key to redemption is exactly there. That's the key. Two ideas, betoch hayam, in the sea, and on dry land. That contradiction is the key. And that's what we struggle with when we talk about redemption. Two ideas that are often mutually exclusive, yet God found a way to make it happen. That's what we struggle with today, a way to make these two ideas, these two concepts that seem mutually exclusive. We have to find a way to allow both to exist. Today, and I speak to you today as an Israeli, today, in the shadow of October 7th, this is, to me, perhaps the best way, the major obstacle that we have to finding the right solution to what's going on. What do I mean? There are two fundamental values that we have that seem to be mutually exclusive. That's what I wanted to say to you today. What's mutually exclusive? On the one hand, we have self-preservation and self-defense. On the other hand, the sanctity of life. Neither is dispensable. We talk about the preservation of life. That's a mitzvah. That is a moral requirement of the Jewish people, self-preservation, to defend yourself. It says in the Torah very clearly, and later in the Talmud, Masechet Sanhedrin says, someone who rises to kill you, you rise up and have to kill them first. You are required to preserve your own life and defend yourself. And this became the mandate of the Jewish people after October 7th. This was so clearly our requirement. We lost 1,200 people, as you know. They were murdered mercilessly, 200 captives that are now, some are, whoever is alive, were taken into a terrible captivity. But there was more damage. There was damage to the Israeli people as a whole and to all of us as Jews because we had a failure, not just a military failure, a moral failure. We did not do what is required of us as Jews to protect ourselves. Self-defense is a requirement. We failed in that. And as a result, the Israeli psyche has been severely damaged. My daughter Tamara's here. Well, she was here. Was Tamara here? Tamara's here. Tamara's a psychologist in Israel. Let me tell you, she has an opportunity for more work for herself than any 10 people could, because the whole country is suffering from PTSD. We must defend ourselves and preserve our lives. It's an absolute necessity of life in Israel and of Jewish life. But there's a second fundamental value to Jewish life, which is the sanctity of all life. This is what we learn in the Mishnah, also from Sanhedrin, where it says very clearly, why did God create the world? Why didn't God create the world inhabited with lots of people and populated? Why? God created the world with a single person to remind us that if you destroy a single life, it's as if you've destroyed a whole world. This also is a Jewish value. Not only a value, a fundamental aspect of what it means to be Jewish. If you're on the far right in Israel and you say, I only care about getting rid of the Palestinians, getting rid of, expelling them from their land, they have to get out. That's all I care about. You're faithful to the defense of Israel. We have to defend ourselves, but you have abrogated the second part of that internal conflict. If you do not care about the lives of other people, you may continue to exist, but you cease to be Jewish. You can't be Jewish, and I don't. This I say this not out of great joy for what's. I'm not happy about what's going on. Not happy about the situation at all. But that we have no choice. If you want to be Jewish, you have to care. If you're on the left in this country and you talk about Israel genocide, you talk about the protests that are taking place, you talk about the International Court of Justice, all of whom are based on a single moral stance. The preservation of life. Doesn't matter which life, doesn't matter who it is. And for them, I suppose they're right. They see killing, they want people to stop being killed, but they don't have a concern for the preservation of Jewish life. Their concern is for life in general, and I'm concerned too. It's not that I'm not sympathetic, but we as Jews live and we read every single day this line, Betoch hayam bayabasha. We're constantly living this reality of two competing values that gnaw at us, and yet that tension is the requirement of Geulah. We must defend ourselves in Israel. We must make sure that we are no longer vulnerable to the attacks that have taken place, and we have to do whatever is necessary to defend ourselves. At the same time, if we lose our concern and our sense of outreach to others, we may survive, but we will no longer survive as a Jewish nation. We're going to be like everyone else if we don't remember that value. And so we have a tension. You want to know how to resolve that tension? Me too. I have no idea. I'm not a military strategist. And for me, at this moment in our history, that military solution has to be attained. But we cannot be Jews without having a degree of concern every time we can't help it. When a Hamasnik hides behind innocents, they're gonna be killed, all of them. Collateral damage, it happens. It doesn't make our fight immoral, but if we say it doesn't matter, that's the problem. That's where that's where the rub is. And so I think as we move forward, as Jews, as Israelis, we need to remember and be able to articulate to others just where it is that we stand. Unfortunately, it's a place that's very hard to envision because it's betoch hayam bayabasha. We're standing on water and land at the same time. We're standing for self-preservation and at the same time for the defense of other people. But this isn't the first time, and with this I'll conclude because I know we're short on time. Not the first time we've faced such a dilemma. In fact, the great sage Hillel, after whom our synagogue is named, said it best in a different context, but one which I think resonates particularly strongly today. Imein ani li mili. If I don't take care of myself, who's going to take care of me? My friends, we learned the hardest lessons that we could possibly learn. No one takes care of the Jewish people other than the Jewish people. We must take care of ourselves. But imani ukeshani le'atzmi ma'ani. But if I take care of myself and I don't concern myself for others, what am I? That's the question that we must resolve. That's the conflict. And there's no time to waste in that. Im lo achshav, imatai. Shabbat shalom.
Shkoch, Rabbi, thank you for a beautiful words of Torah elucidating a poignant tension, and for all that you do. Rabbi, thank you.